My name's Angelo, and welcome to We Want Picks. I'm going to break down the entire UFC Vegas 68 fight card. I'm going to give you my picks, my predictions, and my bets. Is actually a pretty decent card. It does start later in the day than usual because this was supposed to be in South Korea. Then the Korean Zombie dropped off, and they said, forget it. Without the biggest draw, let's just keep it here in Vegas. So it is in Vegas, but it is starting late. But it's still a good card with a lot of exciting fights, so let's go ahead and jump in. But before we talk about this card, let's talk about the last card. We are up 9.1814, sounds like pi, units from the last event. This includes every single bet that we put on the board for premium members and the free ones that I do in the betting video. This is everything. We are up big boy units in that one single event. So make sure you become a premium member. This also has our premium member parlay. It's up 1 unit last week. It's 3 parlays, a 2-leg, a 3-leg, and a 4-leg. The 2-leg won, the 3-leg won, the 4-leg lost, but the profit from the 2 and the 3 covered all of it, and in fact was up 1 net. Unit, hit pause if you want to see all these bets, but these are for premium members. So head on over to WeWantPicks.com. At the top, click Become a Member. It's only $10 a month. It's freaking $10, and that is per month, not per event. That includes every single event bet, future bets, DraftKings plays, a DraftKings optimizer, and now a line movement tracker. We have a whole bunch of formulas built into here. We brought on a data guy, and he put together this tracker. It is interactive. This data is updated, so it's not stagnant. You check every day, you're going to get different information every single day. And what it's tracking is the movement on the probability, the movement on the lines, so you can get ahead of it. Or you can at least jump on a line as it's moving. And this is what the public is doing. And typically, when you see a line move, it's typically, at least if a favorite becomes a larger favorite, that typically goes your way. So this is available to you now. Just go to WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member. And what we're going to do is we're going to analyze it each week. So for this event, UFC Vegas 68, we're going to look at it. We're going to see what happens. We're going to see the biggest line movers and if they won or lost. And then we'll have that data for you. So next week for UFC 284, you can look at previous results and what those trends tend to be. WeOnPicks.com, at the top, click Become a Member. And if you want $50, I will just give you $50. I'll send it to you through Cash App, PayPal, or Venmo. And the only thing you're going to need to do is go to WeWantPicks.com/bets. Sign up with any one of our betting partners using our links, make a deposit, and I send you $50. It's very simple. It's affiliate marketing. They're going to pay us. And then instead of not sharing, I'm going to share. We're going to share the wealth. We're going to give you some of the money that is given to us so we all benefit here. That's WeWantPicks.com/bets. And finally, we've got some limited edition merch. We went out, we found a graphic designer that's going to put together some really cool designs. And this is our first limited edition shirt. We have a second in the queue. He's designing it right now. And we're just going to keep pumping these out. Every single one is topical, and every single one is going to have Easter eggs. Only the real ones are going to know what this shirt is about. But either way, head on over to shop.wewantpicks.com to check out all that merch and all the limited edition stuff as we drop it. Let's talk about this card. We got a couple of fights, only 12 fights on this card, but there are some really solid matchups, some really fun fights, the tournament finals for the road to the UFC. There's a lot going on, and opening up the card is Tatsuro Taira, and he's taking on Jesus Aguilar. They got Tatsuro Taira pretty early on this card. This is definitely a prospect that they want to hype. I imagine they threw him on the card early for the American audience, frankly, because otherwise, if they put him on the main event or co-main, not main, but if it was the co-main or a feature fight, that's going to be super late, 2, 3 in the morning, and we may not stay up that late to watch him. So I guess they figured his country's going to watch him no matter what, and they want to push him on us, so let's put him early in the card so the Americans who kind of lazy don't bail on that card, staying up late. Anyway, Tatsuro Taira is taking on Jesus Aguilar, and Taira is remaining in that #1 ranked flyweight spot in all of Japan. He's still very young. He's only 22. He's got 12 fights with 10 finishes. He's a patient striker, but he can grapple as well. He does have some submission wins on his record. Some are genuine, but some are from strikes, right? He dropped his opponents and then pounced. And he's coming off that win over CJ Vergara, where he did look solid, but his takedown attempts throughout that fight got like desperate. Watch that fight. He did not dominate the way that, you're going to read it online. His takedown attempts got increasingly more desperate. I don't know why. He went 3 for 8 with those takedown attempts. He did eventually get that submission. win. Jesus Aguilar is a solid grappler. He does have a knack for finding guillotines. He has 8 wins with 6 stoppages, and 4 of those stoppages are guillotines. And his guillotines are interesting because he's not just snatching them up, right? He's not waiting for you to shoot, keep your head on the outside, and he'll grab it. He's legitimately setting these up and going for them. It is his go-to submission win. He can strike as well. He's got solid combinations and what seems like pretty decent power. He can be wild, but he's active and he is very fun to watch. Tatsuro's going to be the pick here. It's very obvious he's going to be the pick, but these odds are wild. And I'm not saying they're wild in that he shouldn't be a massive favorite. They're just huge. He's a minus 1,300 at this point. I put this safety parlay on the board. He was in that. I got him at minus 800 when I put up the safety parlay a week ago. I understand that is fully unreasonable now, so I'll find another spot. I'll build a second safety parlay, or at least, give you an alternative for the base so that you can at least do something decent, because minus 1,300 is just not a reasonable play, right? That's just not, yes, he's going to win, but the risk and the reward isn't necessarily worth it. Jesus Aguilar is wild, is dangerous, and anything could happen, but Tatsuro Taira is absolutely the pick. If the fight gets closer and the line starts to rebound a little bit, which may happen, I see a bunch of you in the Discord are like insisting Aguilar's going to win this fight. I don't see it that way, but people like that may move the line back. They may say, listen, plus 800, plus 900 on a guy that's solid? Yeah, let me try that. So if that continues to happen, the line will rebound, and at minus 800, I think Tatsuro's totally fine for your parlays. Minus 13, nobody at minus 13 should be, the risk just isn't worth the reward there. Then we got Jeong Yeong Park taking on Denis Tiuliulin. Jeong Yeong Park's a well-rounded guy. He's got a nice jab, good cage control, solid setups and takedowns. He's good everywhere, but he's not dangerous at all. Like, he just doesn't have the power to knock you out. And while he is coming off a submission win, he typically grinds his way to decisions, right? He's not a grappling beast. He's not a wild, powerful striker, but he is a grinder and he is good everywhere. He's got solid striking differential of about 5 to 4, and he averages more than 2 takedowns per fight. He's got enough cardio to maintain that pace for 3 full rounds. He's coming off that win over Joseph Holmes, where he actually looked a little hesitant on his feet, but ultimately he got the takedown, got the submission. Denis Tiuliulin is a really fun fighter. He comes forward. He's always hunting for a finish. He has no problems getting into a slugfest. He likes to make fights ugly and fast-paced as he possibly can, so he can break people and then catch them. He has got legit power in his hands, but he does have some grappling holes. He's coming off the KO win over Jamie Pickett, where he had 2 knockdowns and he defended 5 takedowns. This should be a pretty straightforward spot for Park, right? He should be able to get the takedowns and grind from there. And I'm not saying he's not capable on his feet, but why even play that game? Because the skill gap on the ground is going to be very wide. Park is going to be so much better on the ground than Tiuliulin. So I think he's going to follow that path. He's got a very high fight IQ, and I think this is a pretty straightforward spot. Gregory Rodriguez knocked out Park, and you're just going to assume that Tiuliulin's going to do the same. But if you watch that fight, Park was touching up Gregory Rodriguez. Touching him up. And then, yes, he did end up getting caught. But anyway, Park is better on his feet than you think. Good wrestling, solid ground. Tiuliulin's phenomenal on his feet, no ground. So Park's going to be the pick. I do have a 2-unit money line bet on him at minus 200. That line hasn't moved. That stayed where it is. So, I'm going to risk 2 to win 1 back, but it should be a pretty safe play. I'm going to be biting my nails, though, because he is a decision guy, and he's probably not going to get Tiuliulin out of there anytime soon. Then we have Jeong Yeong Lee taking on Mandy Bohm in an insane line here. Jeong Yeong Lee is like a minus 3-something favorite here. She hasn't won a fight. She's 1-4 in her last 5. I get it, her last 2 losses were very close, but the fact that people are just loading her and just... Somebody saw her at a minus 250 favorite and said, oh, well, this is a good spot. Let me put some more money on that. Crazy to me, but we got Jeong Yeong Lee taking on Mandy Bohm. Jeong Yeong Lee is a striker. She likes to fight at range. She likes to pick people apart. She's riding a very unfortunate 4-fight losing streak, but it is not as bad as it looks. All 4 of those losses were close, and she, her last 2 could have really gone her way. She's been taken down in 5 of her 6 UFC losses, and while she does have solid submission defense, she doesn't scramble well enough or work back to her feet well enough to get her hands going. She's busy and technical, but loses to women who can squeak in a takedown to take a close decision. So she ends up in these split decision wins or very 29-28 close decision losses. And it's just because her opponents are able to work in that one takedown and take that round and then take that decision. Mandy Bohm's pretty good everywhere. I'm not going to say that she's great anywhere, but her striking is solid and so is her grappling. She seems to be a bit of a regional can crusher, but she has toured through that regional scene with knockout submissions and blowout decisions. So she's doing what she's supposed to do. In the regional scene, she just hasn't found her rhythm yet in the UFC. Kim is a large favorite here. I understand that she's the favorite. I understand she should win, but in no world should anybody spend that kind of money here. She should definitely win this fight, and she's going to be the pick, but someone like Mandy could come in here with a grapple-heavy game plan and make this a weird decision. Kim's the pick. Keep your money. Do not bet on Ji-Yoon Kim here. And she's probably going to win. But why would you risk 3 units to win 1 unit on somebody who is 0-4 in her last 4 fights, can't defend a takedown when she needs to? I mean, her takedown defense is 42%. And that's why she's losing these fights. Mandy Bohm can work that stuff in there. Don't bet on that. This is insane. Don't bet on Ji-Yoon Kim. Then we have the first of the 4 Road to the UFC tournament files. Road to the UFC was Americans, you have to go to Fight Pass to get those fights, but it was a tournament to get some of these guys into the UFC, some of the Asia Pacific crew, and they're very exciting. All of these guys are very exciting fighters. They're the lighter weights, and we're starting with flyweight, and the final is Hyun Sung Park, and he's taking on Seung Choi. Hyun Sung Park is a very slick grappler. He's got one single game plan in mind. Plot forward, find his opening, and get it to the ground. He's absolutely a finisher, and he snatches things up very quickly. If you watch his last fight, he plots forward very slowly, throwing almost nothing. Then as soon as he has his chance, he pressures the takedown and immediately gets the submission. He's very dangerous, but the more tape you watch, the more you can see how uncomfortable he can be at times on his feet. Seung Choi is a well-rounded guy with a loose but technical striking style. He's constantly moving and managing range. He doesn't have like full-blown one-punch knockout power, but he is technical and can wear you down on the feet. He does a very good job game planning. If you watch his 2 Road to the UFC fights, they're very different. The first was a striking showcase where he controlled the range and defended 9 takedowns. The second was a grappling showcase where he had 3 takedowns and 4 minutes of control time. This fight's going to be a little closer than the odds for sure. Park's a solid grappler, but he can have some trouble on his feet. Choi's the overall more well-rounded fighter, and I think that's the lean here. Obviously, he can be taken down and held down, but his 90% takedown defense should hold up and get the decision. So Seung Choi is going to be the pick here. My bets on these Road to the UFC guys are tricky because a lot of them are regional fighters that are fighting other regional fighters, and they're going to get wild. They're going to get excited. I don't know how they're going to do in the moment. We don't know how they're going to do with the incredible time difference and the travel. There's so much going on here that I'm a little hesitant on some of these guys with bets, but I will say overall, the spots to look for are if you're getting 2.5 round lines on these guys, the under. You should always look at the under. These guys are going to come out. They're going to go wild. They're going to try to impress. They're going to try to win this contract. They're all very fun. They're all very exciting. They all have a ton of finishes, and I'm talking about the 8 opponents, the 8 fighters in the 4 tournament files. I've got some under round line spots. If you're a premium member, you can go check those out now. Make sure you link your Discord because I've been throwing them in the Discord so you get the alert to your phone. But this fight specifically, Seung Choi's the pick, but no bet yet. Then we have Ryan Nakamura, and he's taking on Toshiomi Kazama. And Rinya Nakamura is a fantastic wrestler. He's got a high-level wrestling credentials, and he has incredible submissions, but he isn't a desperate grappler. He has incredible power, and he lets his hands fly. His striking can be wild, but because he's so confident in his wrestling, he's not necessarily worried about overcommitting to a strike and then getting taken down. He's the real deal with 6 wins, 5 stoppages, and again, he's a high-level wrestler. He's a real wrestler. He's not a MMA fighter who can wrestle. He has international wrestling experience, and he parlayed that into his MMA career. Toshiomi Kazama is also a solid grappler, and he averages 2 takedowns per fight in this Road to the UFC tournament. His takedown defense can use some work, but even when he is taken down, he's got slick BJJ, and he uses it to scramble, sweep, or even submit his opponents. I think Nakamura is the best guy in this tournament. His wrestling is absolutely amazing. His stand-up, while wild, is dangerous and powerful. These guys are similar in style, but not execution. Nakamura can do everything Kazama can do, but he does it better. So Nakamura is going to be the pick, and frankly, I think he's safe for your parlays. I think it's a pretty dominant performance here by Rinya Nakamura. Then we have Zha Yi taking on Jeong Yeong Lee. Zha Yi is a powerful grappler who uses kicks to manage range and then works in close to get his hands on you and drag you to the ground. He's very strong, and he does a good job elevating his opponents, meaning he will work to the body lock and then literally pick you. He will elevate you. He will pick you up off the mat and then work a takedown from there. And it's so fun. I mean, years of wrestling. As I'm like talking through this, I'm just doing it myself. Anyway, he picks you up off the ground, takes your feet off the mat. You no longer have a base, and then he takes you down and he works from there. Once they hit the ground, he is constantly looking for a submission, but he does struggle maintaining position. If you look at his stats, he's averaging more than 12 takedowns per fight, which are obviously inflated, but that's because he's always looking for a submission. He will take you down, try to jump on a submission. His opponents stand up, and then he works that cycle all over again. So great takedowns, terrible control once he gets to the ground. Jeong Yeong Lee is a very well-rounded fighter. He has a loose striking style that he manages with range as well as solid takedowns and grappling. He's very long for the division, and he uses his length well, and he walks people down. He can be hittable because of his low hands, but he's got a solid chin and grappling as a backup plan. And this is a tough fight to pick, but the lean is going to be Jeong Yeong Lee here. I think he's the more well-rounded fighter, and I think the skill gap on their feet is going to be wider than the grappling edge that Yi may have. I think Yi's going to eat too many strikes as he works in for his takedowns, and if he does get a takedown, we've seen him struggle for that control. So Jeong Yeong Lee is going to be the pick, but this is another no-bet spot, because what worries me, while I like Lee to win this fight, what worries me is Zha Yi's experience. Look at this. He's got 24 fights. I think he has the most amount of fights of anybody in this tournament tournament final. So the pick is Lee. No bet, because Zha Yi, very experienced, and if he gets his grind going, he's going to get this done. Then we have Jeka Saragih taking on Anshul Jubli. And this is an interesting fight. This is a very close fight on the books. Anshul Jubli is a very well-rounded fighter who has solid striking and solid grappling as well. He does a great job exploding into takedowns. So even if it wasn't a perfect shot, he's so fast that his opponents don't have time to sprawl or adjust their hips. He's not amazing anywhere, but he's very good everywhere. And he has very solid fight IQ considering how early he is in his career. Jeka Saragih is insanely powerful and almost doesn't need to be good at anything other than landing that big punch. Just think a small Indonesian Derek Lewis. The guy looks for the chin and he finds it. What's even more impressive is that he also has grappling and BJJ as well. He can work in takedowns and submissions, and if he doesn't find his power, again, he's got all these backup plans. Overall, he's a well-rounded guy, but hopefully, he's going to use all his tools. I want him to use the grappling. I want him to use his takedowns and submissions. I don't want him to continue to find this power, and then that's it. He's just a power puncher forever. And that's the problem. We've seen that happen, right? We've seen that happen with a lot of guys over time. Very well-rounded guys get a few knockouts, and then all of a sudden, that's all they are for the rest of their career. So, Jeka Saragih, well-rounded, has all the tools, but incredible power in his hands. It's a really close fight. The odds reflect that. Jeka is going to have more raw power and potentially better grappling, but Jubli's fight IQ is great, and I can see him having a game plan where he's working forward and then keeping Jeka on his heels while constantly attempting takedowns. That should take away the power and then also the offensive wrestling. But with that being said, I'm going to go with Jeka here. His power is incredible, and if Jubli makes one mistake, he might get put out and have some really big issues here. The bet I have here is the under 2.5 at -125. I love that. We've got two very solid guys. Both are finding finishes everywhere. We've got the power of Jeka, the game planning, the slick submissions of Jubli. I'm going to go the under. I already threw that bet out there. That's up there for premium members at -125. Then we have the main card opener of Yusaku Kinoshita taking on Adam Fugitt. Yusaku Kinoshita is listed as 6-1 in his career, but that one loss is not a true loss. It was a disqualification for grabbing the fence. Style-wise, he's a slick and powerful striker with incredible defense and counter-striking. He moves his head out of the way just slightly and then fires back. If you check out his Contender Series win, you can see just how powerful he is. While his striking is slick, his takedown defense is not. He gets taken down pretty easily. He does have a very solid get-up game, but you can take him down if you try. Adam Fugitt is a forward pressure wrestler with a very loose boxing style. He bounces on his toes with a high guard and then lunges in for takedowns. He's incredibly strong, and even when he doesn't have the best takedown entries, he can pick you up and slam you. Even though he has a high guard, it's not tight and straight punches just get through somewhat easily. He's very tough. He's hard to put away, but he does get cracked and dropped. He's coming out of that short notice loss to Michael Morales, where he had the takedown, but he was knocked down twice and then eventually stopped. I like Adam Fugitt in this spot, and obviously he's going to need to be very careful on his feet. He's going to need to take his time, but then when he finds his openings, he's going to have to push that wrestling pace, and when he does, he's going to have a huge advantage. If you go back and you watch Kinoshita's fight versus Sumimura, Kinoshita was ragdolled. He was ragdolled. He was tossed around. Anything that Sumimura wanted to do to him in the grappling, he did. And Fugitt can do the same, but he's going to need to stay tight striking. That loose high guard is not going to do him any favor. So Fugitt's the pick. I love the underdog odds. He's now at plus 250. I do have a quarter of a unit on him. Not a half, not a full, just a quarter, because I fully recognize how dangerous Kinoshita is. And, but I'll do the quarter of a unit flyer on Fugitt because I do think he wins. And those are pretty solid underdog odds. And he's got the very clear path with the wrestling. Then we have Do-Hoo Choi taking on Kyle Nelson. Do-Hoo Choi's coming back after 3 years away and 3 losses in a row. The losses, however, are quality. He lost to Charles Jourdain in 2019, Jeremy Stephens in 2018, and Cub Swanson in 2016. But what's most impressive is that he has 5 Fight of the Night bonuses in only 6 UFC fights. Style-wise, he's a powerful striker. He's got okay takedown defense. He does a great job throwing straight punches and staying active without getting wild. He's a very talented guy, and his record is what it is because of how quickly he was given ranked fighters, meaning he came in there. He blew the brakes off of some people. Then they said, whoa, and they gave him killers at the time, right? You're going to hear Cub Swanson. In 2016, Cub Swanson was a killer. Jeremy Stephens. In 2018, Jeremy Stephens was great. So he was rushed a little bit, but he has 3 years off, and hopefully he comes back better than what he was, even though 3 years away is a little nerve-wracking. Kyle Nelson's a solid striker with very real power in his hands. He's been in the UFC since 2018, but only has 1 win and has been very inactive. He has solid takedown defense and does a really good job using his opponent's shots to create a scramble and then end up on top. He's definitely dangerous and fun to watch, but this is a weird main card spot for sure. I like Choi a lot in this spot. I don't normally bet on fighters with such long layoffs, right? 3 years, you don't necessarily know what you're going to get, but if he's a shell of what he was a few years ago, this should be a really straightforward win for him. He's incredibly powerful. He has clean technique. He's going to be faster, the cleaner striker. The power is probably going to be equal. I have a 1 unit money line bet on Choi. The odds are even better than when I did it, so he's minus 182 right now. I like him. I like him to get it done, but only 1 unit, so I'm not going to win a full unit if that bet hits because the layoff is a little concerning, but I do like Choi to get this done, and frankly, I think the UFC set this up to give him that win. They want him to win. They want him to, build him back up. He's only 31 years old. He has incredible, fun fights. I mentioned 5 Fight of the Night bonuses and 6 UFC fights, so I think they gave him Kyle Nelson as a, hey, here's somebody you can go beat and put on a show. Then we have Marcin Tybura, and he's taking on Blagoy Ivanov. Marcin Tybura is a durable guy. He's a grinder who never quits. He's busy everywhere. His striking's just okay. He's sort of a punches and bunches kind of guy, especially at heavyweight. The strikes are really there just to set up his takedowns. If he gets a takedown, he's going to pound on you till you quit. and he doesn't need to look for submissions. Tybura averages a little more than 1 takedown per fight. He does have a low 32% takedown accuracy though, but instead of clean doubles and shots, he does rely on body locks and trips to get it to the ground. He's coming off that fantastic win over Alexander Romanov, where despite being taken down twice, he had forward pressure, he had grit, he did not quit, and he kept working, and he won that fight. Blagoy Ivanov is a heavyweight striker with an iron chin and a willingness to trade. He took the best shots that Derek Lewis, Augusto Sakai, and Tai Tuivasa and Junior Dos Santos could throw at him, and he never went down. He does have a combat sambo background, and you guys love saying he beat Fedor Emelianenko in sambo, which he did do, but that was a very, very long time ago. He is a talented guy. He's got solid takedown defense and okay power in his hands, but a willingness to survive that few have. Look up his story. I mean, this giant hole in his chest was, I think it was a knife to the chest. This dude, watch his story on YouTube. It's absolutely incredible. He is coming off that win over Marcos Rogerio de Lima, where he landed fewer total strikes, fewer significant strikes, and was taken down. I like Marcin Tybura in this spot. I like him a lot, frankly. I mean, he's a guy, he's going to beat everybody he's supposed to. Some people he's not supposed to, but he's never going to be champ, right? He's never going to fight for a title, but he is going to beat all of these mid-level guys. Blagoy's tough. That's his thing. You go watch his highlights. They're not highlights of what he's done to his opponents. It's highlights of him getting hit in the head with a baseball bat and not budging. The guy lost a decision to Derek Lewis. A decision to Derek Lewis. So I like Marcin Tybura here. I think that relentless forward pressure, I think he will get some of the takedowns. And luckily, Tybura is not a power guy, meaning he doesn't rely on big power. Because if you're relying on big power to beat Blagoy, you're not going to get it, and you're going to be very frustrated. So I like Tybura to come in. I like him to grind. I like him to wrestle. It's going to be a very boring heavyweight fight, but Tybura's the pick. I did throw 2 units on him. That line has moved. He's now a minus 146 favorite. Throw 1.46 units on him to win 1 unit. I'm pretty confident in this spot. The over round line is probably solid as well because, frankly, Ivanov doesn't have one-punch knockout power. Tybura doesn't have one-punch knockout power. And this is going to be a grapple fest. So the over on the round line would be a solid bet as well. Then we have the co-main event of the evening. Da Un Jun taking on Devin Clark. Jung's a technical boxer with solid wrestling and clinch work. He's very well-rounded and can win anywhere. In his win over William Knight, he had 8 takedowns and plenty of control time. He ragdolled that dude. In his win over Kennedy and Chuckwill, he had ridiculous striking, and he got the early knockout. We've seen him do everything well, but he is coming off that knockout loss to Dustin Jacoby, which snapped a 16-fight unbeaten streak. A lot of people saw that loss and immediately said that Jung was overrated, but I don't think he's overrated. I saw that loss and said, holy shit, Dustin Jacoby is incredibly good. And let's not forget, Dustin Jacoby is a professional kickboxer. And at one point, I think he was ranked like number 2 or number 3 in the world. Devin Clark's a solid grappler with a well-rounded striking game. He doesn't have the best chin, but he has solid footwork and heavy hands. He looks to crowd his opponents to take them down. Once he gets them down, he's looking to strike and work for the TKO more than he's really looking for a submission. He's coming off that loss to Mirzakhanov, where he was outstruck for 3 rounds before being dropped and knocked out. I like Jung in this spot. I think he's overall the much better fighter. I think his 16-fight unbeaten streak proves that. He has more ways to win, and he can adjust on the fly. I know someone in the comments section, oh, I'm not picking Da Un Jung, or I'm going to pick the guy who didn't go to a draw with Sam Alvey. You're a simpleton. That logic is simpleton logic. You're going to lose your money if you're betting against Da Un Jung because of a draw a few years ago. I like Jung to get this done. He's going to be the pick. He is going to need to defend a few takedown attempts, but I don't think that's a problem. So Da Un Jung is the pick here. No bet yet, but it is one of my more confident spots. Then we got the main event of the evening, and this main event should look familiar. This was booked a few months ago. UFC Vegas 65, I believe. And then Derek Lewis, tummy ache, got the squirts. The fight was canceled on fight night. Halfway through the card. Sorry, we don't have a main event. Derek Lewis shit his pants in the back. So it's rebooked. What I will say, when it was booked the first time, I was 1,000% sure Saragih Spivac was going to win that fight. Wasn't a doubt in my mind. I had bets on him. It's safety part. Not a doubt in my mind that Spivac was going to win that fight. But since then, we've seen those videos and those pictures of Derek Lewis really slimmed down. He's lost, I don't know how much weight. Like, we haven't seen him on the scale yet, but there are pictures and videos of him jogging and working out, and this dude is different. And I don't know what that means. I don't know if we're all of a sudden going to have a faster, more energetic Derek Lewis who still has that same power. I don't know if he's going to be now small and the mountain of a man of Spivac is going to push him around and bully him. I don't know. So that does change this dynamic a little bit. But Derek Lewis, we know who he is. Big power. He's not very technical. He's not a great grappler. His stand-up game is insane. It defies all logic. Stands up on everybody. People take him down. He just literally stands up like it doesn't matter. Incredible power in his hands. But if you push the pressure, he folds. Look at his last few losses. 2 losses in a row. People that came at him put the pressure. Tai Tuivasa came at him, knocked him out. Sirogan broke him. Pushed him forward, broke him. Sergey Pavlovic came forward, cracked him, put him out. But those are guys with superior striking. Sergey Spivac's not going to have better striking, but he is going to be the much better grappler. He averages 4 takedowns per fight. He can strike. He's not going to want to here. I think he just comes forward, grabs Derek Lewis, drags him to the ground, and once he's on top, I don't see Derek Lewis just standing up like he did on everybody else. I think Sergey Spivac will get the takedowns, will get the control, and will beat up Derek Lewis on the ground. Derek Lewis is going to be smaller, which may work to his advantage because maybe he has incredible cardio and his footwork's going to be better and he's going to be more mobile, or it's going to be a disadvantage because instead of showing up at 260, he's going to be 230, and then now the 260-something Spivac is going to lay on top of him. He's not going to be going anywhere. So Sergey Spivac's absolutely going to be the pick. But as we know, Derek Lewis has that incredible uppercut. He did it with Curtis Blades came shooting in. We know he's not a quitter. Volkov was dominating him, and he knocked Volkov out with, 1 minute left, a couple seconds left, something stupid like that. So this is a different fight than when it was originally booked. If I have a bet, I'll do it after weigh-ins, right? I want to see what Derek looks like without his shirt on, and then I'll place a bet. So right now, Spivac, definitely the pick, but I'm a little hesitant with my money because of, like I said, what Derek Lewis has looked like training and physically lately. Let me know in the comments what you think of that. If you're worried about Derek Lewis losing weight, if it's a good thing or a bad thing, I'm very, very curious what you guys think. Guys, don't forget, it's only $10 a month, premium membership, $10. We have added the line movement tracker. You now can go in and see where the lines are going, see the movement. If you see something move the couple of percent the way that you thought it was going to go, hop on it because then it's going to continue to move and you hit that before its peak and you're going to get some closing line value. WeWantPicks.com at the top, click, become a member. It's only $10 a month, not an event, a month. WeWantPicks.com/bets. I will send you $50, $50. Cash App, PayPal, Venmo. I will just send you $50. And the only thing you need to do is go to WeWantPicks.com/bets, use our link, create an account, and make a deposit with any one of our sportsbook partners. This is affiliate marketing. They're going to pay me, and I'm going to give you some of that money as a thank you for supporting us and our partners. And don't forget about the limited edition merch. We found ourselves a graphic designer. This is our first limited edition shirt. Only the real ones know what this is for. All proceeds are going to go to me and Jacob. We're going to keep the money. This is not a charity thing. You bully your bullies. That's the lesson here. You stand up to your bullies. Not going to let some basement buddy get one over on me. We're going to sell some shirts. Shop.wewantpicks.com. And our second limited edition shirt will be dropping shortly. And the Discord fans, you're going to love it. You are going to love that shirt. WeWantPicks.com for everything, guys. Let me know in the comments what you are thinking. The break is over. And we're going to hit like a 10-fight streak here. 10 weeks in a row of fights. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks for the watch. Like, subscribe, do all the things.